Well, it happened. The dreaded blob of doom. The blob of doom can go by many names. Most of them have expletives attached to them. You might want to call it my ex-wife. But either way, it's destructive. My blob of doom, in reality, wasn't all that bad. I'll show you some of the other ones that I've seen recently on Facebook. Yeah, some pretty ugly ones out there. But yeah, this is basically how I found my machine. It was actually still trying to print at the time. Obviously, one of the parts had come loose and was moving around and got stuck to the hot end, and that was all she wrote. Thankfully, I was able to stop it before it got as bad as some of those other ones. I was actually not even home at the time that it started happening. And for some reason, my camera was covered. So I couldn't even see that there was a problem. This one in particular, this they're all your fault. This is user error 99.9% of the time. Yeah, the blob of doom, whether you like it or not, typically is user error. Let's just say 99.9% of the time it's user error. Who knows what something could happen that would be the other 0.01%. But yeah, this one was completely my fault. As soon as I saw it, I knew what happened. And we need to get it fixed. In my case, Pet G running on bed, the bed temperatures were set for PLA. So if you're not familiar, Pet G prints hotter. And if you try to print it out on the PLA settings, it's not going to go well. Hence the blob of doom. Another main reason why these things happen is that the bed just wasn't clean enough. I've gotten into a regiment of, after every 2 sets of prints that I do, I hit it with the isopropyl alcohol, and I usually don't have any problems after that. If I do, I take it up and I wash it with some Dawn dish soap, and just to make sure that it's good and clean. The best thing that you can hope for when you have a blob of doom is that your machine is still hot. If you can get it while it's hot, stop the print if it's still printing. But if you can get it off of there while it's hot, you have a much more bigger chance of success of not breaking everything. Because the plastic is hot, you can kind of pull it away. You can see on mine here, it even blew out the silicone sock here. So the hot end was buried down in here. And if you take off the silicone sock, you can see it had formed it. It made its own little mold. But let's go through a few things that you can do to try to clean this up before you have to do a hot end replacement. Like I said, the first thing that you want to try to do is get that blob off of there. Depending on how bad it is, it could be caught up here in your fan or whatever and prevent you from pulling that off, because then it would just destroy the fan shroud. But do your best, try to get rid of as much of that as possible before you go any further. Then we're going to go ahead and grab the lid for the hot end here, and we're going to pull that off. I already had mine loose. To give you much more access here. So typically your hot end or the nozzle's in here on its little clip. On mine, the clip had even burst open and had pushed the nozzle out. Like, I mean, it was horrible. So it wasn't even attached in there anymore. All right, so the first thing that we're gonna do in trying to revive and clean up as much of this as we can is we're gonna heat up the hot end. Now, I don't have the nozzle in here, and it's not gonna wanna do it naturally. So we have to trick it. What you have to do is you go into settings, and you're gonna go down to maintenance. You're gonna click on maintenance, and then you're gonna go maintenance mode, and you're gonna turn that on. We're gonna go back out, and we're gonna go to control, and we're gonna tell the nozzle to heat up. And we'll do it to 260 degrees. So by putting it into maintenance mode, it lets you override the settings in the printer and allows you to heat up the nozzle by itself without everything else going off. So it's going to start heating up here, and we're already at 150 degrees Celsius. So the goal here is to soften up the plastic that is on here. So as you can see, look, I can now move everything here. Don't touch this at this point with your fingers because you'll burn your fingers. I'm using one of the tools that they included here. So there we go. We're just about there, the 260 degrees. If you're having this problem with PLA, if you have a blob with PLA, you don't have to heat it up this high, but I mean, it's not going to hurt. So then take your little Allen key or whatever tool you have, and you see here it's softened everything up pretty good. So we can get in here and try to clean off as much of this stuff as we can. There we go. But as you can tell, I've given up on that. So there was actually quite a bit on here already. So now we're going to go ahead and go back to our nozzle, and we're going to go ahead and shut her down. There we go. And we're going to give it a couple minutes so that we don't burn our hands when we're in here messing around with stuff. Okay, we've decided here that we can't save this hot end, and we're going to have to change it out. So let's get moving on that. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to turn off the machine. Just shut her down. It'll prevent you from doing anything too bad. I'm actually going to also unplug it here. Not because I'm concerned about it, but because we're going to have to turn the machine around, and it's just easier if it's all completely unplugged. So the first thing that we're going to do, like I showed you here, is we're going to go ahead and pull off the cover if you haven't already. Then there's 4 screws that we have to take out. The 4 screws that we have to take out are this one, and then there's one up here, back in this corner here, and this one. Those are the first 4 that you have to take out. And to take out those screws, we're going to use the larger Allen key that was included with your A1. Okay, we've got those 4 screws laid out. As a point of keeping everything where it belongs when you put it back, I like to put them in the same order that I take them out. So I took the top 2 out, took those bottom 2 out, and I keep them in the orientation of where they go. Now we're going to come back over here to the hot end here, and we're going to grab the front and just pull it a little bit. It's only going to come out a little bit. You don't want to yank it because there are wires attached back here. After that, we need to turn the machine around. Future Ryan here. If you like this content, why don't you subscribe, hit the thumbs up button, maybe watch it 300,000 or 400,000 times. I'd appreciate it. Back to playing with the extruder.
Okay.
Now that we've got the machine turned around, we need to take this rear cover off. Bambu's going to tell you just to grab it and pull it off, but it's hard to get your fingers under there. But if you look underneath here, you can see this little area right here. It's a little cut in for that. If you stick this small Allen key up in there, you can pop that off. It will go flying, so just be aware. But if you get that in there, push it up just a little bit and then give it some force coming back, it'll pop off. Just make sure that you don't shove this thing way up in here when you do that. Just get it right up underneath the lip and pop, and it'll come off. So now that we have that, we need to take the clips off that are going towards the front of the machine. So you see this little hole right here. You're going to take this guy off, and we're going to take this guy off. So you should just be able to gently pull it, and it'll pop off there. And the top one will pop off there. So those are now free. Now, looking from the side of the machine, you can flip it all the way back around if you want to, but the little camera angle is a little bit better this way. You can see this is three pieces. There's a top, the middle, and a bottom. The middle piece is the part that we want to push out. So very easily, that will slide out of there and free us up of the wires. So we'll pull those wires down, and we're almost there. Now, back at the front of the machine, there's three screws that we need to take off for the hot end. So there's one here, there's one up here, and one right here. So go ahead and take those three out. Just don't drop your Allen wrench. Take those out with the larger Allen key. And with those three screws removed, you should be able to wind these down and pull out the hot end. Just make sure you don't lose those little screws. There's two of them. There is a little, there goes the third one. So if you look under here, if you're having a problem, you probably need two hands to do this. But you can see, here I'll point to it, right there it's like a little cord keeper thing. So it just needs to come out from underneath there. So I'm gonna do that with both hands. And with that, the hot end's free. Now, remember, this one is not going to come off of the machine. This is, I think it's for the fan, but it will come down here, and then you just need to release this one. Now, checking out my hot end assembly here, you can see how bad it really was, even after trying to clean it off. It doesn't look too, it doesn't look too bad from the front, but then when you turn it around, you had a whole glob of filament still back there. So that was going to cause trouble. So I'm glad we're replacing it and putting on a whole new one. Okay, so we've been successful at removing everything. So we have our three screws that were for the hot end, the side cover, the back cover, and the screws for the extruder. And we have here our silicone sock and the hot end that we were able to salvage from the old one. Thankfully, mine was still in pretty good shape. So this is how the box comes to you from Bambu Lab. They send out this extruder here. I'll pull this out and see what's inside. So we have three of the replacement M3x10 to replace those three. And then we have a package that has the extruder in it. The hot end in it. So we're going to go ahead and open this up. Got fat fingers. There we go. Pull that out. Little silicone packet. Don't let that get near your pets. And we have the hot end assembly. So looks much nicer. So very easy, very simple. All right, let's get it put back in. Okay, essentially we're going to do just a reverse of how we got everything out. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to set this guy back up in here, and we're going to put the 3 new screws in there and lock it into place. Pay special attention to the wiring. When you get it, it's going to be facing straight down, so you're going to want to bend it over if you're facing it to the right, but not letting it get behind there and get pinched. Then you're going to go ahead and put the wiring up back behind here, and then you can tighten it down. Once you've got those screws in there, the way that I did it is I just put them all in loose, and then I went back and tightened them all up. But once you've gotten that, we're going to spin the printer to the side again so that we can route these wires up and back to the back. Routing the wires, it might be easier if you had like a pair of tweezers or something if you can't get your nubby fingers in there. You know, if you give it a half a second and some patience, you can get it in there. You just need to make sure that you get it behind that little finger so that it's not going to get pinched or anything when you put the cover back on. See, there it goes. It popped out again. A few cuss words later. Here we go. After you get that, then you're going to slide the side piece back on to cover it up and hold it. Okay, so the side piece, you'll see like it's got the fat end here. Here, hold on a second. Let me set this here so you can see it better. So this is how it's going to be oriented in there. So you're going to have the big fat tab here at the back, and you're not going to see any tabs on the bottom. So as long as that's up at the top right, you'll be okay. Then you're going to slip it in here, and it's going to look like it's not aligned right here, but that's just because it's waiting to get to the back here. So just push it forward until it stops, and verify again that the front wires haven't come out of that little finger. And if they have, you're going to have to fix it again. Okay, pro tip about this. Okay, so the Hotend wiring, wire that through first on this little front little lip thing. And then bring this other wiring here with the black, gray, and white wires, put that in afterwards, because it'll push the Hotend wiring over enough that it'll keep the thermistor wires tucked in back there. So pro tip on that one. All right, let's continue this and get it wrapped up. Back here, attach this one, your new Hotend wiring. Easiest way I found to do it was to bend the wiring down a little bit first, and because you're trying to wrap it up and around to this connector. And then it'll find its home. Like, don't force it, because it's very small pins up there. So just find its little home and then give it a little tap in there, and it'll go right in. Then attach the other wiring back down here, and we can put our lid back on. So the lid is going to go in here. It's got the little hook there at the bottom. It's going to slip in there, and then grab it, and everything should pop right back into place. Back here at the front of the machine, we're going to make sure that the extruder is sat back into its spot there, and we're going to put those 4 screws back in that we took out earlier. Okay, now it's time. Let's put the Hotend back in, or the nozzle back in. As you can see, mine got bent up a little bit from that screw up. So just so you can see how it's clipped right here. This is not right. This is incorrect. So do not do it like this. See, look how easy it is to flip right back open. So this means that the Hotend is not fully seated in there. Hold on a second. Let me clip it, and I'll show you how it should look. There we go. Now it's fully seated in there. So you can see the difference. The clip itself goes up and through this little slot that's in the clasp and goes over. When I was showing you how it was done wrong, the clasp was coming through this area here. So make sure you're putting it in there properly. The last things that we need to do now One is that we're going to put on our silicone sock. Pretty easy. There we go. And then we just need to put on our clip, our cover. So we'll put that back in here. And clip that into place. There we are. From here, we got one thing left to do. And that is to just verify that everything's working right. So we've gone ahead and we've plugged it all back in. We're going to go back to control. And we're going to put the nozzle temperature up, let's say 200. We're going to hit OK, and we're just going to wait for it to go. Making sure that there's no errors or anything else. Looks like we're heating up okay. Let's go ahead and hit the fan too, just to make sure that that is still functioning. All right, we got it up to 50. So we'll go ahead and shut her back off.
The nozzle's at 141 degrees Celsius. We're almost there. We're not hitting any airs, so that's good.
There we are. Perfect. So let's go back to the nozzle. We're not going to update right now. We're going to drop it back down to OK. And there you have it. Recovering from a blob of doom. It's not hard, and it's as long as you don't have big giant MIDI mitts like me, it's really easy to get everything into where it needs to go. So back to printing. Let's make some money.